Great. I think everybody's in. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I just want to tell everybody good afternoon and welcome to the CESLC Insider. Every other Wednesday at 12, you can join us to find education on topics that matter to you. I'm your host, Angelique Jackson, Business Development and Marketing Manager. And here at Charles E. Smith Life Communities, we deliver care and experiences personally tailored to those we serve, no matter where they are in life's journey. To schedule a private tour of our campus, please visit our website or call Greg Smythe or Tony McCarthy at our Welcome Center. The information will be provided to you in the chat. And also, we want to hear from you. So please add your questions to the chat. We can't wait to get to those. And then just a few reminders before we begin. We will be recording today's program, and the recorded version will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. And you can find that link as well in the chat. And on our YouTube channel, you'll see past programs and much more. So if you are a music lover, we have a treat for you today. The Iris Music Project musicians, cellist Lauren Latessa, pianist Jiyoung Oh, and violinist Joanna Owen, fondly known on campus as the Iris Piano Trio, join us to discuss their dedication to redefining the traditional relationship between musician and audience. So thank you, ladies, for joining us. I really do appreciate that. And I just want to say, too, before we get started, recently, the musicians of the Iris Music Project published an article featured in the Journal of Applied Arts titled Different Media, Same Relationships, and what the Iris Piano Trio learned from the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining us today.
Angelique, thanks for having us. We're thrilled to be here.
As classically trained musicians, what inspired you to work in the healthcare industry serving older adults?
I'll go ahead and jump in first. I mean, I think when I was even in school, all the way back when I was doing my degrees at Peabody and Northwestern, I was always drawn to the idea of working with people. I never saw myself as somebody who was going to be comfortable just being on stage and being sort of separate from people. So that really became the sort of driving force that has shaped my entire career. How can I use music to connect with and build community with all different kinds of people? So that's always been my sort of primary motivation. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jiyoung. I'm the pianist. Nice to see you all. So yes, as Angelique said, I was classically trained, just very traditional conservatory degree. But I've always enjoyed working and interacting with the older generation. I find that when I play music in this setting, that what I do, I can see very directly. The impact of my work is very immediate. So that's very rewarding and satisfying. And echoing what Lauren said, really, it helps me develop a close connection through music that I haven't found as a musician in other venues.
Right. Yeah.
Journey is similar to Lauren and Jiyoung. After completing my graduate studies, I started volunteering with the pediatrics at the Reston Hospital in Virginia, and I also trained as a Capitol Hospice volunteer. The visits with older adults and their families filled me with a sense of connection. The moments became very important. Life, outside life sort of vanished from the view. And these conversations often transform to musical experiences. In my career as an orchestra musician, I often lacked that very close connection. However, relationship building wasn't new to me. My mom is a classically trained pianist. So she and I started small group residencies in schools and preschools in Warsaw, Poland. We built close relationships with teachers, students, and brought music to places where the opportunities were scarce. So I think all of these experiences came into fruition when I started my musical journeys with those beautiful ladies with the Iris Trio.
Thank you so much for sharing such inspirational stories. And then it kind of brings me back because I did have the opportunity to read the article, and there was a quote that touched me, and that said, "We believe music making should be radically participatory, driven by the audience as much as the musicians."
Yes. Yeah, I mean, and I think I'm so touched right now just to be looking out at all the people that are here on this conversation with us, because I really think it's a reflection of that mission. So we have a ton of our friends from Ring House here chatting with us today, and I'm so grateful to see all of you guys, because that really is truly our goal, that these are collaborative, creative, artistic projects and work that we get to do together. Together we define the projects and figure out how we want to go about making it happen and who takes on what roles. So yes, that's my favorite line from the article too, Angelique.
So let me just, I want to clarify this. So what is the difference between the work that you do versus what a music therapist does?
Yeah, that's such a great question, Angelique. And I also want to invite, we have Karen Wax on the call with us as well right now. And she is a music therapist up in Boston at Berkeley. And so I'd love for her to chime in on this question too. I just emailed her about it, but I'll give my attempt at an answer first. And then Karen, maybe you can either type something in to help us too. So music therapists go to school for 4 years to become music therapists. They learn multiple instruments and techniques for therapeutic interventions that use music to achieve sort of a health outcome. As you know, Joanna, Jiyoung, and I, we just described our background and training. It's all in our instruments, like my cello that I have here. And we approach our work with the residents of Charles E. Smith really as artistic collaborations. We might not have a clear idea or outcome for what we want out of the experience, but we are working together to try to create something of artistic value and interest to the community. So we're often performing together, leading lectures together, and sharing musical knowledge. Very frequently, we are the learners. We are learning from members of the community even more than we are teaching them anything. So, but I'd love to hear Karen's thoughts on this as well, knowing this program, and then also as a music therapist herself. So I just unmuted you, Karen. I hope that's okay, Angelique.
Yeah, no, that's great. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm thrilled to be here. Besides being a music therapist, both of my parents were residents at the Landau House, Dave and Thelma Wax. And so they were involved in the music, and that's what kind of brought me into this. But when I think about music therapy, we are very process oriented. We're really more interested in what's happening with the communication, the socialization. Music is important, but it's not the center. So it's more customized to meet the individual non-musical goals. I think that's the quickest way to say it.
Thank you, Karen. Yes.
Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
But
Thank
music is important, but the focus isn't so much on the product as it is on actually the non-musical goals.
Yeah. Thank you, Karen. I really appreciate having you here today and sharing that with us.
Yes.
And Karen and I have worked really closely at thinking about this question together and what we do as sort of community musicians for the Charles E. Smith community, and sort of part of that. Yes, creating a product together. Process is also a big part of what we do. And I feel like I've learned so much from the field of music therapy and from people like Karen. So we're very grateful for her.
Yeah, thank you so much, Karen, for that explanation. I really appreciate that. So then that would just bring me to my next question. We see a lot of research about the benefits of music in our health. What role can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, so music plays, as everybody knows, if you think about music, the ways that music is just even a background to our lives, it plays an essential role in all of our lives. For me, I really think of it as beyond health. It's a core part of well-being and like a sort of essential part of healthy living. It can create a sense of community and it can foster vibrancy sort of in our daily life. It has this profound power to bring sense of joy, peace, and it can help us to process very, very difficult emotions. For me, the thing that I find so powerful, music, it's an incredibly powerful medium, and we have to be really careful for how we use that power of music. And it really, truly is a reflection of all aspects of the human experience. So not just the moments of joy, but also our moments of hardship and what it means to be alive through all of that. I've recently been reading a book from Wendy Miller and Jean Cohen called Sky Above Clouds. And I love this as a metaphor. So Wendy Miller, Jean Cohen is no longer with us, but he was a leader in the fields of medicine, gerontology, and research. And Wendy is his wife and has sort of been a leader in creative aging. And this metaphor of the sky above the clouds. So there's always going to be clouds in our lives, right? There's always something hard in our lives, but music and the creative arts help us to find that sky above the clouds where the blue sky is beyond those hard things. I've just been so moved by that metaphor. I think it's really powerful and beautiful.
It is. It's very beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's very beautiful. I've got to get that book title from you after this.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
can you tell me about the Iris Music Project and what inspired its creation and its unique name?
Yeah, thank you so much for this question. So the Iris Music Project truly was inspired by my mom. Her name was Patricia Latessa, and she passed away in March of 2020. But before that, she really taught me a lot. She was only 59 years old when she passed away. But before that, she taught me so much about what it means to live with grace, purpose, and meaning, despite having a terminal diagnosis. So she had been she had lived with cancer for 24 years. And throughout that journey with her, every day she found a way, despite that really hard reality, to learn to live with joy and peace. And so that, to me, is really at the basis of Iris Music Project. It's just that we use music to achieve that goal. How do we live well despite sometimes the most challenging of circumstances? Creativity and music were a big part of this answer for my mom. Not the whole answer, but they were a big part of this answer. And so my main goal is to use those things, creativity and music, to help create those senses of meaning and purpose for other people and for particularly older adults. So Dr. Burris, you're also with us today. Dr. Burris, who came up with a term, he told me once that he felt that we should call it the trauma of aging, because there's so much that happens and it's so difficult. And so I see music as a tool to help us find that meaning and purpose, despite, as Dr. Burris so beautifully said, the trauma of aging. So I see her spirit in almost everything we do. And she had these beautiful gardens. So the name Iris Music Project, she had these beautiful gardens all over an old farmhouse that she and my dad bought when about 4 years before she passed. And she spent the last 4 years of her life tending to these gardens and making them so beautiful. And so that's where the iris comes in as a tribute to her. Yeah.
Lauren, thank you so much. That's such a beautiful story. Just very inspirational. It must be hard, maybe share it. This would be a way just to always feel like mom is present with the work that you do.
Yeah. And I mean, just also a reflection of like what I learned from her, and a reminder that none of us know how long we're going to have on this earth, and we got to make every day count, right?
Agreed.
Yeah.
So what is your goal for the Iris Music Project in collaboration with the senior living communities that you serve, such as Charles E. Smith Life communities?
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to Wendy Miller and Jean Cohen one more time here for this one. I wanted to quote something from the foreword of their book, which I think really articulates basically what we've been talking about so far about, as Dr. Burris said, the trauma of aging. They said this: aging can be challenging and often lonely. This can lead to deep spiritual and existential distress as people try to find inherent meaning and purpose in life. Society moves at a rapid pace, often not giving space for the wisdom of the older person. People can feel cast aside, and they can even experience hopelessness. So Iris Music Project believes that professional musicians who have dedicated their lives to trying to create moments of beauty and purpose for people have a crucial role in alleviating these challenges of loneliness, lack of meaning, lack of self-worth, lack of connection that often accompany aging. We believe professional musicians have a very important role in answering this question and helping to support people in communities all over the country. Our goal is to create a paradigm shift, first in how activities and entertainment are viewed within retirement communities, and then secondly, how musicians view themselves in these roles and their potential in these settings. This takes a lot of work from both sides. Both musicians and sort of the communities need to sort of step up. Charles E. Smith has done a beautiful job of stepping into this new paradigm. And our goal is to see ensemble-in-residence models like we have here at Charles E. Smith at retirement communities across the country.
I love what you said, creating moments of beauty and purpose.
Yeah.
So you did mention a little bit about the ensemble in residence. What are the core elements of that model?
So Jiyoung, I think I'm going to throw this one over to you, okay?
Okay. Lauren, are you able to share the diagram?
Right
So
there.
this is actually a graph that was in our article, and it just has a basic outline of, it's the starting point for how we structure our programs. We look into 3 types of programming. The first one is the traditional model of the large performances. The Iris trio are the triangles, and the circles are the residents. So this may be our open rehearsals or concerts that we give as like a special event. So you see the musicians are performing for the audience, the residents. And then the other type that we have are these small group programs. And we have this throughout the week. We fill the calendar with lots of different programs. Some examples are drum circles. So that's where the musician kind of in conjunction with the residents are participating in a program together. Some of them might be more instructional, like a music 101 or an appreciation class. Sometimes the residents will co-lead a program with us, and that is always a lot of fun. Going back to the drum circle, I think one of the residents actually even came up with the name and helped write a grant to get more drums for this program.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then we have the one-on-ones. And so these are individual meetings between the musicians and the residents. And we may play for a resident that might just be having a rough day or a good day. We may teach them piano. I've done this as well with lots of success and a lot of fun. And we may get together to develop maybe a program or a performance. And again, we did one very recently on Monday. One of our residents, and I think she's on this meeting today, Helene, gave a wonderful performance to an audience on Monday. So I met with her over a course of a few weeks to help put that program together. So that sort of is our kind of the backbone. This is where we start from. I think, although it looks like there are 3 individual elements, these arrows show that really there is a lot of flow between one to the other. And ultimately, the one-on-ones feed into the small group programs. Residents who typically may not come out to programs after they get to know us from these one-on-one visits will come out to the programs. Some of them might even present together with us on a program that is from their past career or like an interest that they've always had. So these are all very, we like to use the word synergistic. I know it's a kind of an abstract word, but they really do flow into one another and create something, I think, larger than each individual component.
And I'm amazed of all the amount of the collaboration because you mentioned that a lot of the residents co-create and co-lead some of the programming, which it's pretty amazing, because I'm sure there are residents who are musicians themselves, and like you said, Jiyoung, that would like to become a musician, maybe learning piano, cello, or violin.
We have the best collaborators. There's so much wisdom and knowledge and passion in the Ringhouse community that it is just a joy to be a part of. I've learned every day. There's not a day that goes by that I don't learn something new, which is awesome. Whoever thought they could have a job where you'd learn something new every single day? It's a beautiful thing.
It is. That's the point. Lifelong learners.
Yes, definitely.
So Jiyoung, thank you so much for the explanation of your model. But how is that unique to what other, I guess, let me rephrase that. How is that unique to what you see in other communities with music programming?
Yeah, I think we really have a ongoing presence in the community. That's why we're sort of called the residency model. So we're different than sort of a musician that might come in from the outside for a one-off show. And I know they will do a fantastic job, maybe have some light conversations, and then they're gone. But because we're there consistently, the residents really do get to know us. And I think there's something much bigger that can happen as a result. And we develop these deeper connections with the residents. And I know Helene she's the one that gave a fantastic performance, just wrote into the chat about what this work means to her. And I think I can't imagine that this would be possible without this model, without us sort of being part of the community where the residents are.
And I'll just add one little thing to that as well, which is that we often will be invited in when somebody is in their last couple days, when they're on hospice and in their last few days, we'll be invited in by the family. And there are many musicians all over the country that do this kind of hospice work. But what's really special about this for us is that we're coming into the room of somebody who's been a friend, who's been a partner, and who we have known for a very long time. And so to have the honor to be a part of those last hours it is the most important thing that I have the privilege of doing in our work. And it's some of the most beautiful moments that I've had. So to be able to be there for somebody throughout their whole journey, and throughout that whole journey, even between the different buildings of Charles E. Smith, so moving from Ringhouse to Landau House, and knowing people and having those same connections is also a really special thing that we have the honor of doing. Yeah.
Thank you. So it's the relationships you develop.
It's the relationships. It's all about the relationships. Yeah.
All about the relationships. So can you give us an example of, one of the music-centered programs or activities that you've created to engage with residents, specifically at Charles E. Smith Life Communities?
Yeah, I'm going to show two examples here. The first one we're going to see is just 30 seconds of a resident talking about what music means to her, and then going directly into the singing of a song called Hine Ma Tov, which means how good and pleasant it is to be together. You're going to see Jiyoung and I in that clip, and you're going to hear people singing with us. This is pre-pandemic. I do want to make that quite clear. This one's pre-pandemic. And so what I love about this clip is that it shows that connection, right, between the words and the conversation and the actual music and the community of being together. It's just 36 seconds, so it goes by quickly, but it captures a lot.
Life is not always smooth. And in music, I found peace and pleasure, and everything was good in this world.
I know that was short, but isn't that just so wonderful to have that sense of everybody singing together?
Yes, that was so beautiful. And you can really feel the sense of community.
Yeah.
And thank you for making that distinction that it was before COVID.
Yes. And then I've got one more that I want to share, which actually features Alan, who is also on the call with us today. Again, this is going to be 36 seconds. It's going to be pretty quick, but this is a small snippet from a piece that's called Alan's Can't Walk Blues that he wrote during our spring music festival. We had a guest artist who you'll see, his name is Marcus Smith, here for the week performing with us and teaching us about blues. And Alan, let me see if I get the lyrics right. I've got the can't walk blues, my back is killing me. I've got the can't walk blues, my back is killing me. Can anybody relate to that feeling?
Here.
Yeah. All right, let's give it a listen. Here's Alan's Can't Walk Blues.
Yes, I got the can't walk blues, and my back is killing me. Yes, I got the can't walk blues, and my back is killing me. I'm gonna stay like this until that doctor is locked up and can't get free.
Okay, so then the last line was I'm gonna stay like this till that doctor is locked up and can't get free.
So he created that. I wonder how long it took him to come up with that.
Hey, Alan, can you write in the chat and tell us a little bit about how you wrote the Can't Walk Blues? Can you write out a little bit for us in the chat about that?
And what inspired you?
Okay. Alan, can you type it in? Oh, should I? Okay, Alan, if you write it out for us, we'll read more about it. Okay, see if you can type it into the chat. But yes, what I love about the Can't Walk Blues is the fun of it, the silliness of it, the creativity of it. It's such a creative piece and it resonates with so many of us, right? Who can't relate to that feeling, the Can't Walk Blues. So like Jiyoung was saying, these are just sort of examples of what can be possible when you have musicians that are truly integrated into the daily life of a community. It becomes so much more than just a one-off concert or a concert that just happens and then you come back maybe a month later. So much more can happen that affects the whole feeling of the community and everybody's daily life, even before and after music programming. It's not just that one chunk of time that there's a difference or an impact.
And as your video showed, live music is always more enjoyable in a group setting. So what challenges did COVID present to your model and how did you overcome those obstacles?
That is a perfect follow-up question to that, because COVID took away from us the thing that is so very important to our work, which is our ability to gather and come together and be together in a shared space. So I'm gonna, again, Jiyoung, you wanna take this question? Jiyoung is a co-author on our paper, so I'd love for you to give us your answer too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously not having the physical proximity to be with your residents was a big challenge. Um, and trying to figure out how we can continue to offer music and continue this relationship and connection that we had. Um, and so it was difficult. I mean, we were very fortunate that Charles E. Smith had an in-house network, the Touchdown Network, that I think became one of our most significant and important tools to recreating some of those connections. So we started slowly. We started making little what we call the musical hellos. We took out every digital equipment that we had, like even our iPhones and iPads, and created short videos with a piece, a little message. And the staff, the staff, bless their heart, they were so amazing. And we were fortunate that we knew them and had already built a trust and a relationship with them. They carried the iPad from room to room and visited the residents. And because a lot of the residents already knew us, I think it was a familiar face coming into the room. And the staff could use that as a starting point for conversations.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning.
So technology's really played a role in your continued connection with the residents.
Definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then from there, we went on to develop larger programs, eventually making them interactive with residents who were able to use Zoom, or the activity directors will set up stations or rooms where the residents could come and interact with us. And we even did some collaborative programs through COVID. And this next clip that Lauren's going to show just makes me smile. It is so beautiful. One of the tricky things about using digital technology with music is that, for instance, like Zoom, only one person can speak at a time. So it makes it very tricky for two or more musicians to play at the same time. But we persevered and researched, and a lot of trial and error. And Lauren produced this beautiful video of her playing together with a resident using technology.
So this is just a quick example of what we did and how we did it. This is David and I playing Puff the Magic Dragon virtually. Okay, ready? Go.
The magic dragon lived by the sea and fountain on a midnight on a leaf. Little Jackie paper and a rascal puff. He brought him to the silly one in a little band. Oh, magic dragon.
Wow.
Isn't that special?
I love that song. So
It's a special song. Yes, it was a good song to start with. Yeah, yeah. There's one other thing we started during COVID that was really special to me as well, which was our orchestra. Can you believe we started an orchestra during a pandemic?
wow, an orchestra.
we started an orchestra. So we began to offer cello, violin, and viola lessons. And we started by having our group lessons outside. You know, we noticed that our outdoor concerts really weren't like that. We were still missing that sense of connection because we were far from people. We had our masks on. They were sort of successful, but we missed being able to really connect with people. And so we thought, well, why don't we just try to have our lessons and our orchestra outside? And it was so wonderful to be outside together. It reminded me that I just need to be outside more generally in my life. I need to just go outside more frequently. So I want to invite now Annie, who's on with Joanna. She has been learning viola in our orchestra, and I wanted to invite her to share her perspective a little bit about the orchestra and what she thinks of it.
Welcome,
Hi,
Annie.
Thank you. First of all, what an honor to be among so many amazing musicians. My goodness, this is exciting. Okay. When I moved into Revit's house, it was the heart. I mean, the pandemic was just flowing. And all of a sudden, as the day I moved in, I was quarantined for 2 weeks. So I was totally lost and lonely. No one could come in. I couldn't go out. Well, I did sneak out. Don't tell anybody. And so all of a sudden, I got this opportunity to learn to play the viola. The sound of the viola to me is so deep and so beautiful. And so I was honored to get to play that. And they handed me an instrument to use. My goodness, I'm in a better place than I thought. Once we got to play together and I met the trio, oh, you women, you don't know what you've brought to my life. First of all three of you. It's just thrilling. You care about us, you care if we learn, and you care if we're all right. So that's just amazing to me, but I'm in love now with the viola. So I had to buy one, of course. But our community, when we're together, okay, first of all, none of us knew each other in the orchestra when we started. And then I got Joanna for an amazing teacher. She's very kind and says, you did great, even when you know I totally messed up. So our orchestra is not that big, but it's powerful. And you guys talked about the trauma of aging. It's true. I look in the mirror and I go, well, who are you, you old lady? You know, I still think I should see a 16-year-old. So aging is traumatic. But when we started with the orchestra, okay, there were maybe 6 or 7 of us, but we're amazing. None of us knew what we were doing. And so we had that in common. So we started talking about that as we practice. What are you doing? Do you know what you're doing? And none of us did. So as our music grew, our friendship grew. And I'm telling you, there's nothing in the world better than playing with people you know. The sense of community that comes from making music together, it's almost like an opera, the feeling, you know, the drama. And you talked about the moments of connection. That is an amazing connection. All of a sudden, I wasn't lonely. I'll tell you the truth, because I'm taking piano lessons and viola lessons, and we all perform together. I have never been happier in my life, and I'm 82. So it's been a long life, but I have never been happier. It's music did it. The Iris Project did it. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Annie, for sharing with us all the ways that the trio has inspired you and created almost a sense of purpose, a new sense of purpose and a new environment. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Annie. That was beautiful. Yeah.
So how do you measure the success of your program?
This is a really good question, and another one that I think needs to be revised a little bit. How do we think of success of any programming, of any activities? What are the markers of success? Everybody very frequently tracks attendance as one of these signs of success. And I think that tells part of the story, but not the whole story. I think attendance numbers are important, but it doesn't capture everything. So my markers for success are a little bit different. And some of my friends at Ring House, now that you'll know this, you'll know what I'm looking for when I come into programs. If I walk into a program and I see people chatting with each other and like just that general happy chatter between residents, between the musicians that are already there, between the musicians and residents, all of those connections, when I see that when I come in, and if I see that when I leave, those are two huge signs of success. That might sound like a very little thing to you, but the idea that we're seeing how our music, our program becomes a catalyst for conversation, for friendship, for joy, and for moments beyond even that one interaction. So how if we see that sense of happy chatter happening before, during, sometimes I get a little distracted if it's happening during, but also before, during, and after our programs. And then the other thing I really look for is if people are coming back, so that sort of depth of engagement and a growing curiosity, right? So one of our goals with lifelong learning is that we're opening those doors of curiosity and continuing to learn from each other. So more questions, a willingness to share ideas, a willingness to ask questions, people offering to run programs for us, whether they're music related or not. People stepping up to say, I want to talk about X, Y, or Z is a huge sign of success. Helping us with planning, revising something we've written, critiquing our performance. These are all markers of success, that kind of like very active and passionate engagement. Thinking through a difficult idea with us, or arguing about the direction of the music program or our next concert. Those are markers of success. That means we are all truly excited and engaged and care about what happens next. That's how I try to follow it and define it.
I like that definition. It's very complex and it has a lot of facets to it, but
Right.
it sounds like the main measure is the participation.
Mm-hmm. And I
Yeah.
think that's what's tricky, right? It's really easy to measure attendance numbers or to go in and see, okay, whose toes are tapping and have that tell a story, right? And it's harder to capture this other thing that we're trying to do, which is really creating that sense of vibrancy and engagement and participation and care. Those are the things that are, you're right, they're harder to measure and they're a little bit more abstract.
So why do you think your programming is so successful?
Well, I will say I've got a wonderful team that I think works really, really hard. So I'm so grateful for all of the hard work that happens. And as I said before, we are also so grateful to be working with such wonderful people and such a wonderful community of residents, staff members, team members, activity directors, and recreational therapies. I'm inspired each and every day by the Charles E. Smith's team's commitment to what they do. And then the incredible voices of all of our residents that we get to showcase and be a part of their lives as well. Yeah.
Sounds like success to me.
I want to say before we move on, I just want to give also a huge thank you to everybody who has financially supported Iris Music Project, including the Kaplan Foundation. They are very, very much a part. We're so grateful for that continued support, and everybody else who's a part of making this happen as well. It truly takes a village to do something like this.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And thank you. Thank you for such a beautiful discussion. This is my favorite part, is to get to the questions. And so I'm looking through some, and Let me see here. Just bear with me.
Angelique, can I read what Alan told us about his piece? Can I read this to everybody?
Sure.
Okay, Alan says, it only took about half an hour to get down. I was very inspired. The doctor was supposed to improve me. Instead, he crippled me. There was plenty of passion in those blues. No more golf, among other things. What has taken its place to a great extent is all of the music and, of course, the blues. Oh, thank you, Alan. This is beautiful.
Alan, thank you so much for sharing that. I love the song. You might hear me humming it. And then I don't see a lot of questions, but I see where a lot of folks have shared, and I'd like to read that. Helene, hello, Helene. Thank you for sharing. Helene says, when I moved to Ring House, I was an actress who had not performed in 17 years, and I began to work with Jiyoung Oh. She helped me write and perform a show about when the Beatles came to America. I had never written my own material. I received support, assistance, and education from these beautiful women. I worked with them throughout the isolation of the pandemic, learning how to record music trivia. I have been given a new career, writing and performing one-woman shows every other month with music and comedy, always supported. I lost it, hold on. Always supported by these beautiful young women. Thank you, Helene, for sharing. And I want to see this one-woman show.
We will invite you for sure.
I want my invitation. And then Karen Wax has shared that this is a beautiful model that should be replicated to other elder care programs. The philosophy is so humanistic and thoughtful, and it is. Always happy to listen to these amazing women. Need to go to class. Thank you, everybody. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And then I have Charlotte says, these three women and others who have participated bring us back to the sky, no matter what is happening. They do so through both the sound emotion of their unmediated live instrumental performances. Their emotional and rational intelligence radiate in every conversation and performance, and they get to know new residents to bring different musical tastes and experience to their performances. And then I had to move up and I always miss my place. I'm sorry about that. We came to Ring in part because of the presence of a musical trio, but their presence enriched both me and my late husband more than I can put in words. Oh, that was so beautiful. Thank you so much, Charlotte. Thank you for sharing that. And let me see. Lori has commented that Annie expresses the value of this program so well. And then another comment from, and I might kill the name, so forgive me, Saul Glasner. As explained by Lauren, metric for success can be summarized as engagement, for which there are multiple indicators.
Definitely.
Thank you. Yes, we agree. Thank you so much for sharing these with all of our viewers. These are such beautiful, heartwarming shares, and we really appreciate it. Thank you. And is there anything else that we should know or that you want to share with our viewers, ladies of the trio?
So Alan just asked if I would tell the story of Fantasy, which is a piece of music. Okay, one of your 3-day music. Okay, so Fantasy was a piece of music written by a composer whose name is Kevin McKee. And it was originally written for, he's a living composer. He lives here in College Park, right here in Maryland. So he's a good friend of our program. So he originally wrote this piece for, I think it was clarinet, horn, and piano. But then when he heard about what we were doing at Ring House, he rewrote it for us as a piano trio. And it's based on Jewish and klezmer themes. And it is an awesome piece of music. It's so much fun to play. So we started to play it at Ring House. And then after people loved it, we had a really good time with it. And one day, Alan approached us and asked about writing lyrics to it and whether or not we thought a chorus could sing it. And the amazing Jiyoung took it on with such flourish. And Alan and Jiyoung together wrote the lyrics for Fantasy. We put together a chorus. Again, this was pre-pandemic, so we were singing a lot more and having more choruses. We put together a chorus that was both Ring House residents as well as community members and volunteers. I think Lori sang in our chorus. And we performed it as the finale of one of our music festivals. And it is the coolest thing. The lyrics are so fabulous and people sang it with such gusto and beauty. It was amazing. Yeah. So thank you, Ellen, for reminding me about that story.
And now I've got to see it. I've got to hear it. Thank you for sharing. I think we still have a few minutes. Are there any other programs that the trio you'd like to highlight? What's happening across campus?
Let's see. Oh, well, the Annie's Orchestra is going to have their first concert very, very soon at the beginning of February. So we will be performing in just a couple weeks here. And we're going to have a spring music festival at Ring House at the beginning of May. So we're just in the very early stages of starting to figure out what the theme for that will be. But yeah, those are some of the things we're looking forward to on campus.
Wow, pretty amazing and so exciting. I can't wait to see what you have in store for us.
I also just want to say thank you to everybody who joined us today, especially all of our Ring residents. You made this conversation so rich and joyful to be a part of. So I'm really grateful for all of you for tuning in and coming to join the conversation today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in today. And a special thanks to the musicians of the Iris Music Trio. Thank you so much for such a beautiful, warm, insightful discussion and for demonstrating all of the wonderful ways that you use music to engage our residents on campus and creating moments of beauty. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. And then also join us for the next Insider. It will be February 9th. And we welcome Amy K. Harbison. She's a certified transition coach, and Megan Sexton, who's a financial advisor. They will be discussing retirement planning and beyond. So the link to register for that Insider event will be in the comments. And then also you can find other events on that link as well. So again, thank you for everybody who tuned in. Thank you to the Iris Piano Trio. Such a great experience, and have an amazing day, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.